What's up everyone, it's Q from WiiU Gaming, and just recently Nintendo Switch had its firmware updated to version 4.0, which is nothing exceptional, it's nothing special, because games consoles, PC hardware, clients, software, whatever, it always undergoes different version changes. Usually something is changed, obviously, if it's just stability, if features are added, if features are removed, if you're Sony, etc, etc. The point I'm trying to make is that in firmware version 4.0, Nintendo added a couple of extra things, a couple of extra features, many of which were not notable whatsoever. One thing they did add, which was also kind of perplexing, is the ability to capture video using the share button. There's a bunch of caveats with that though. You can only do it in first-party games, select first-party games. Those games have to be on a specific version or above, and you can only record 30 seconds worth of video. Not the easiest thing or the best idea to use in the world, but they have also come out and said that it could potentially go beyond 30 seconds in the future. That's not what I'm here to talk about though. What I am here to talk about is something that Nintendo didn't announce and was only just kind of randomly found out by curious users of the Nintendo Switch in the 4.0 update. The Nintendo Switch now supports the WiiU Gamecube Adapter from Super Smash Bros. And again, this has not been announced or confirmed by Nintendo in any way, but after version 4.0, this works. And before everyone runs out just to buy up as many of these adapters as they can from wherever they can, as cheap as they can, blah blah blah, there have been reports that several different third-party made WiiU Gamecube adapters do not work with the Nintendo Switch. So far, the only confirmed 100% working one is the official Nintendo Wii U one, which is basically gold dust, which was the problem in itself. But some people have reported that third-party ones are not working for them. Obviously, the dock, well not the dock, but the adapter uses two USB ports, so naturally you have to plug it into the dock, take up to two USB ports on the side, and it's not something you can really get an adapter for to plug directly into the Switch. Now, onto the more interesting part of this video, if you ask me, because yeah, it's kind of interesting that Nintendo added this, they ninja'd it into the firmware and never said a thing about it. But here's the curious part, it's time to speculate, because this is always the fun type of thing to do when something like this comes up. Why have they done this? There seems to be no specific reason for this. Now, you may think that, oh, maybe people want to play Mario Odyssey with it because of, Mario Sunshine and all this, when it be the GameCube controller being a great controller. That technically could be true, but I don't believe that's the case. For the simple reason is the GameCube controller has less buttons than the Switch controller has, so it can't emulate it properly. Both sticks can't be pushed in, and there's only 3 shoulder buttons on the GameCube controller, versus on the Switch controller where the sticks can be pushed in and functioned as 2 extra buttons, and there are 4 shoulder buttons. But of course there's multiple other reasons and multiple other things to worry about when it comes to this. Could we be seeing a new Smash of some way, shape or form, or a port of some Smash game, well, obviously it'd be the Wii U one, in the near future? Chances are we will get a remastered version of Smash on the Wii U. That's probably like a 99% given at this point. And of course, down the line, I think we will see a brand new Smash as well. Now, also, it is worth noting that I haven't tested this out myself on specific games that it supports. For example, I haven't tried to play any games that I have with a GameCube controller, so I don't know how the functionality works across it. I don't know if just the dock recognizes the controllers. I do know that it does recognize the controllers, but I don't know if that's all it does, or if it does actually work in specific games, or all games, or whatever. Maybe they added it for Pokken Tournament for all we know. Because when it comes down to it, Pokken Tournament only needs 6 buttons and a D-pad. But here is the most interesting part of it, and this is the one that piques my curiosity the most. We all know Nintendo have been extremely tight-lipped and gun-shy on anything to do with the Virtual Console. It's worried millions of users out there, including myself, especially with the whole deal of their upcoming paid subscription / Netflix-like service for games and online play next year, as well as the Switch's inability to properly emulate GameCube games. What do I mean by that, by properly emulating GameCube games, is the controllers do not match and they're not compatible. Because for some reason, the shoulder buttons on the Nintendo Switch, just like the Wii U, have been downgraded from the GameCube to digital shoulder buttons, which are inferior to the analog shoulder buttons of every other console out there and the GameCube. So the only way they could properly emulate Virtual Console GameCube games would be to release either new controllers that have analog shoulder buttons, which would piss a lot of people off because Joy-Cons, as terrible as they are expensive. The Pro Controller, as good as it is very expensive. We all know Nintendo can release cheap GameCube controllers as it is. If you remember, during the Smash days on Wii U, Nintendo actually re-released official first-party controllers. First-party wired GameCube controllers for Smash with Smash branding. And they were cheap. They were maybe like €25 or something like that. I think they were a bit more when they first came out. They were maybe about 40, but then they quickly got marked down because there were so few people that got their hands on a GameCube adapter that they were pretty easy to find on the cheap. And they were official. Again, that's half the price of a pair of Joy-Cons, and that's half the price of a pair of, of a Pro Controller. So that's the most interesting part to me. Could this be alluding to a virtual console? Because let's face it, you can use pretty much, if a virtual console comes to the Switch, for NES games, SNES games, hell, even N64 games, Master System, Mega Drive, hell, let's even go as far as say Sega Saturn, TurboGrafx, whatever. You can play them on basically any controller. You could play them on Joy-Cons, maybe not just a single Joy-Con, but you could play them on Joy-Cons, you could play them on Pro Controllers, whatever. But when it comes to the GameCube, you do need that GameCube controller. And the GameCube controller would also work retroactively and be able to work with all the previous ones too. A lot of people love the GameCube controller. I think it's good for the most part. I do have one or two gripes with it, but it is a pretty damn good controller. And who knows, technically, you could even substitute the GameCube controller for if by some magical godlike reason we got Dreamcast emulation or Dreamcast Virtual Console rather than emulation. It would even work as that, because while the Dreamcast had the two triggers at the back, the two analog shoulder buttons would function just like that. Now that I think about it, I should actually go and see if my hoary GameCube SNES style controller would actually work, because I've got the Wii U adapter, I've got the controller. It would kind of be perfect to work with, say, Secret of Mana, Suikoden Densetsu 3, and maybe even some of the Neo Geo games. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with all this. I think the most likely deal would that it might actually be to do with virtual console related stuff, and that's my preferred hope. Of course, it could be for other stuff as well, stuff we haven't even thought about for this video, but it could also be for support in other games like Pokken, for example. It's a good controller for fighting games. It's still the primary controller for Smash after all these years, etc, etc. So I'm curious to see how it all pans out, especially because the Nintendo Online service and all is supposedly going live at the start of next year. So we're coming up fairly close. It's only a couple of months away. Maybe, hopefully, we'll get some news about that, and this might tie in at the same time. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments section below what you think is going to be the main reason for this. What do you think? Do you think we're getting the virtual console games with GameCube, Dreamcast in there as well as all the previous stuff? Because we want a good, robust virtual console. Multiple platforms, multiple genres, hundreds of games. That's what we want. Do you think it's just for something like an upcoming Smash game? Do you think it's ported just for existing stuff? What's the deal with it in the comments section below? I want to know all that stuff. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the rest of the videos in my channel.